Well, greetings, Boise State fans. Happy Thursday. Happy game day, Boise State and Wyoming fans. Really excited about this one as we get you set for the big showdown in Laramie, 7 o'clock tonight on Stadium and the Mountain West Network. Ken Pomeroy runs the great KenPom.com website that you hear me reference religiously multiple times a day. And if you don't know how I explain it, hopefully Ken can help explain it himself. But Ken, appreciate your time. Love this site, man. And thanks for giving us a few minutes here. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. What a time to be alive. A Boise State Wyoming game is. I was just looking at my fan match. It's the number 2 matchup of the night behind Arizona UCLA. So pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah. Now it just does so happen you have a degree from one of the two schools here, correct?
Yeah, have a graduate degree from Wyoming. I don't know if I've watched every one of their games this year, but probably the team I follow the most closely of any team in the country right now.
Well, good. Looking forward to your breakdown of the matchup. I'm curious, how do I guess before we get into the numbers and all that, how does your system line up with your eyes? Do you ever see stuff that doesn't line up with what your computer numbers say?
Yeah, that happens not infrequently. You see a team and, you might only see them once or twice and they don't look that good. And the rating system has them a lot higher than that. And, you kind of have to dig a little bit deeper to figure out what's going on. So, yeah, I kind of use my own rating system like I hope other people do. It's a tool. It's not infallible, but it's a great independent opinion of what's going on.
Yeah, I love it. I've been, ironically enough, I got a note yesterday saying it was the last day of my subscription, so I had to resubscribe yesterday, and I guess that was a requirement for you coming on the interview. But no, appreciate it. And if folks do have a question or a comment for Ken, we got a couple minutes here. We can try to get those on as we're live on all the social media channels at BroncoNationNews.com. And as I said, Ken, obviously a Boise State website here, and obviously fans in Boise very excited about what the Broncos have been doing. And I wake up every morning and I'm there, 10 minutes after the game, hitting refresh to see what the new KenPom number is, as soon as the game's over. So I've been following them very closely. They started the season at number 80, been slowly moving up. They were number 40 going into the Fresno game. I think got to 35, and then they've risen 5 or 6 spots without even playing the last 6 days. Currently sitting at number 30 in your rankings. What's just your take from your eyes, from your computer eyes, from everything when you look at Boise State?
Yeah, I think the data is pretty consistent with what you see. It's a team that is heavily dependent on its defense and, a very good defensive team. And then offensively, it's a little bit more of an adventure sometimes. They're not going to necessarily put on a great offensive display. You certainly don't expect that. But overall, just a solid team. And one of the intriguing things about this matchup really is you look at, historically, this looks like it could be Boise's best team in program history. And not exactly true for Wyoming, but probably their best team in 35 years or something. Since Spanish Dembo era or something like that. So, pretty nifty that both these teams are having so much success right now. And obviously that first game was a really tight game and kind of like what you'd expect. A little bit lower scoring and a little bit lower scoring, something that Wyoming wanted, but kind of looking forward to a similar type of game tonight.
Yeah, what do you make of the defensive numbers? I guess in layman's terms for fans that are wondering, number 5 in adjusted defensive efficiency. How would you explain that to fans saying what is adjusted defensive efficiency?
Yeah, it's just it's looking at basically the points you would allow per 100 possessions against an average Division I team. So their number right now is 87.4, so that's the 5th lowest in the country, and it just tells you how good your defense is on any given possession. Basically, obviously, there's going to be ups and downs over the course of the season. Some games the defense is going to look bad. Some games it's going to look unbeatable. But overall, on an average, we would expect them going forward to basically have the 5th best defense, and that's the idea behind the system. Is we're not really necessarily trying to reward past accomplishments. We're trying to predict things going forward, and so that's really what it's saying. It's hey, Boise's number 30. We think they'll be about the 30th best team going forward, and their defense is about the 5th best in the country.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because you look at some of the other defensive numbers and how it all is put together. What does how does that quantify? I guess moving forward versus what they've done, and how much is the overall number? I guess for them to be 5th in defensive efficiency, 141st in offensive, but to come out to 30 overall, how does the whole system kind of put it all together?
Yeah, as far as the overall ranking, it takes the difference between the offensive number and the defensive number. So their offense is 103.9, defense 87.4. So you just take that difference, and that's what their overall rating ends up being. And so then you just rank teams by that. So pretty simple from that standpoint. But I think it is telling. I mean, I think Boise Boise fans would agree if they've watched the team all year. Like,
Sure.
obviously the defense has been great and the offense has struggled, and hopefully that gives you confidence that when you look at some other random team that you're not familiar with, that the numbers are going to be reasonably accurate and kind of expressing what those teams do well also.
Yeah, I was gonna say this at this point in the season, I think fans are stunned to see Boise State with the number 5 next to their. I mean, not because they've seen them play good. That's just not something Boise State typically does, is be near the top of the defensive rankings. But are we far enough into the season now where this isn't? I mean, this isn't obviously a 2 or 3 game sample size here. I mean, for them to be this far into the season and have that kind of number, I mean, how real is that number? I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, it's pretty real. It's pretty real. I think one thing I always, kind of come back to when I look at these teams that are in balance is that, you sort of have like a total like amount of like talent to disperse or practice time or whatever however you want to look at it to distribute, between your offense and your defense. And I think it's like pretty clear, like Leon Rice like understands like his team is more effective, like working on defense and kind of like, the San Diego State model, really like, we're just going to shut teams down. We're not going to worry too much about our offensive skill because, maybe the personnel isn't so well suited to that. So I think, if Boise State wanted to like transform into a little bit more of an offensive team, they could do that. And we'll probably see that a little bit down the stretch. Like if I had to bet, I think at the end of the year, their defensive ranking wouldn't be 5th, maybe it'll be 10th or 12th or something like that. But
sure.
But obviously 21 games into the season, it's pretty clear, they're, as far as, if they want to shut down opponents, like they're one of the best teams in the country at doing that.
And what else stands out to you about Boise State? I mean, I know they're not, they haven't beaten like that top 10 team, but I mean, you look at this winning streak they're on, I think 7 top, teams that are ranked 74th or higher in your list, and 4 straight, wins, 3 on the road against top 55 teams. What else, just in general, whether it be the, the opponents or the venues or any other stats on their page that stand out to you about Boise State?
Well, I mean, certainly the win streak is impressive. Obviously, the conference this year is, it's got a number of good teams at the top. And so if you're going on the road and winning games, like that's super impressive. Like they are kind of flying under the radar because people, almost demand that you beat a top 10 or top 20 team before you get respect. But if you're beating a series of top 50 teams, like that's also very impressive. And, people kind of underrate that, and the selection committee underrates that as well, unfortunately. But that's certainly impressive. I mean, you look defensively and like, their 2-point defense is 17th in the country. Their defensive rebounding is 5th in the country. I mean, it's just really tough to get, shots at the rim and when those shots are missed, like it's at the end of a possession basically. So that's impressive. Their ability, they're really good at defending the 3-point line in terms of preventing 3-point attempts, preventing assists. Like they basically, force you to score off the dribble. And, that's a challenge for some teams as well. So it's a very, like uncomfortable defense to play against. Clearly you can't score against it, and it kind of forces you into styles that, maybe a lot of teams aren't comfortable playing.
And I know Wyoming saw that in the matchup last week. They averaged like 78 points a game, and I think got 62 against Boise State. But what in the, and I don't know if you know the exact data, but I mean, for a team to be 5th in defensive efficiency, and you say they might end up 10th or 12th, that's fine. Is it pretty rare for, I guess, a team to have that kind of defense and not make the NCAA tournament? I mean, should Boise State fans feel pretty good about their spot right now?
I mean, I think so. When it comes, the bottom line is if they win the regular season conference title, like, yeah, they're going to be in great shape. I mean, the Mountain West is that strong this year where, you're going to get in. So from that standpoint, they should be pretty good. I mean, the bottom line is like, you can obviously concoct a profile where a team's great defensively and not good offensively and doesn't have the resume and won't get into the NCAA tournament. And off the top of my head, I can't, name a bunch of cases like that, but I'm sure there have been cases like that in the past. You see teams that are that imbalanced. Actually, like VCU this year is a case of that, where their defense is also, I believe, still top 5, and but their offense is way down there, and they are very unlikely to make the tournament unless they win their conference tournament. So I think the bottom line is like, I would have some concerns about that offense, but they've got enough like wins in the bank right now, and clearly their defense is good enough to like allow them to beat the top teams in the Mountain West on the road. So they're certainly good enough to make the tournament. I guess the next question is like, are they good enough to make that second weekend or whatever? Like that's, kind of an interesting bridge they're going to have to cross eventually.
Well, I mean, they're 0-7 all time in the tournament. So I think fans just want them to get there, and they would just take one win. I mean, just give them one win. I think fans would take that. And so that's encouraging to hear. What do you make? They do have, after tonight, 6 of their last 9 at home. They still get San Diego State, Utah State, Colorado State, all the big boys pretty much at home. Wyoming's pretty much the only, Wyoming and Fresno, they've already played in Boise. But I guess just moving forward with the Mountain West, you see the other talent in the league, and You mentioned that the rankings. I mean, Utah State ranked 34th, which might surprise some based on their record, especially in the league. But a lot of good teams in this league, and still a lot of opportunities for a team like Boise State to get some quality wins here down the stretch.
Question. Yeah, the top of the league is super strong. Looking at 4 bids or so, but yeah, Utah State's a really interesting case because, again, we're trying to project forward here. When you look at history, the best way to project forward is not necessarily past wins, but it's like past margin of victory, especially against like decent teams on the road. And, Utah State has been pretty effective at putting teams away, and certainly especially recently. Like, so when they've lost in league, like it's generally been close. Like, it's always been close. And when they win, it's generally been, the 4 wins have been by a pretty decent margin. And so they're a team to watch out for as well. Like, they could easily win the conference tournament. Like, there's certainly a realistic scenario there where a 5-win Mountain West or a 5-bid Mountain West team could, develop if things break right.
Yeah, I was looking at the standings. I mean, you're going to have a Nevada or a Utah State or a UNLV type team like potentially have to play the 1 seed in the quarterfinals. I mean, you've been ranking these leagues and teams for a long time. How good is this league? I know in 2013 they got 5 teams in, but where does the overall balance? You don't have as many of the 300 level teams this year, and even the middle teams are right around that 100 mark. It seems like this is a pretty darn good league this year.
Yeah, the 2013 season is really the the benchmark, I think, for the the modern version of this league in terms of membership, where they did get 5 teams in. They were ranked 4th overall among conferences. This league could get there. Obviously, there's a little bit of dead weight at the bottom right now with San Diego State and Air Force, or San Jose State and Air Force. But overall, yeah, the top of the league is very healthy, and they're and the rankings are nipping at the heels of the ACC and the Pac-12, and with a good postseason performance, they could catch them. So. It's great for the league. It's great for those top teams too, because they're going to get a number of opportunities to get some quality wins. And overall, it's hard to really imagine a scenario where they don't get at least 3 teams in the tournament. And like I said, 4 or 5 is like certainly in play.
So I was reading some articles, and as we joked about at the beginning, you did go to school at Wyoming for a graduate degree, right? And I know you were at one point into meteorology and doing some things there. What just if folks don't know your background, how did you end up running the most popular and successful college basketball analytics site?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of fell into it. I started working on like college basketball analytics in the early 2000s when the book Moneyball came out, and there's a lot of like online content related to baseball, and there's really nothing about basketball or college basketball especially. So being a little bit nerdy and into math and into college basketball, just started to get involved in that and publish some stuff online, and things gradually took off from there. The hobby eventually became pretty time consuming, and people got really interested in it, and coaches got really interested in it, and the media did. And I was, working as a meteorologist for the government for, about a dozen years until I finally was convinced to do this full time, 2012, 2013, around there. And basically been doing it full time ever since.
And you do all and I'm sure you have a way to pull in the game data. But I mean, do you still have to do a lot of day-to-day stuff on it, or once you have this formula done, is it kind of just let it go?
Yeah, there's not too much maintenance required now. I mean, that, in the beginning, it was all, pretty much all manual labor. The big hurdle was like, how do I get all this data kind of in an automated way? Because obviously you're not typing in box scores to produce this stuff. That's not feasible. So
sure.
So that was a big hurdle to get over. And really ever since then, I kind of gradually like automate various things, automate other things. And now we're to the point where, yeah, the data for the most part is automated. Every once in a while there's a hiccup and I have to do something manually. And certainly the last couple of years with schedule changes and things like that, there's been quite a bit more manual labor needed to keep the schedules updated. But other than that, it's pretty automated.
Well, you gotta charge more than $20, man. It's a great product, and it's a very affordable price. I like the ref rankings. I like to look at the schedules of some of the referees, and you have the home court advantages. What are the other? What's kind of the popular stuff not on the team sheets? Any of that kind of stuff that you've heard over the years that people enjoy, finding out stuff about?
Well, I think the win probability charts are kind of fun too. You can go back and especially if you miss a game. I mean, every game in the country has the win probability chart on it, so you can kind of get a feel for how the game went. Was there a comeback or whatever? Then all the games are kind of ranked by how exciting they were and things like that. So that's one of the more popular features. I think also like the Division I stats, like just the how everything's going in Division I in terms of scoring, points per game, or some of the various advanced stats I have. If you want a reality check on how the game is progressing on average from year to year, like you have a pretty handy reference for that as well. So there's all sorts of little nuggets you can kind of stumble upon if you just click on random links on my site. There's people tell me all the time, like they discover something. It's like, oh, when did you add this? And it's like, oh, I added it 6 years ago. Or something. It's kind of in an obscure location.
Well, I love it. It's a great site. Like I said, I love how quickly it is too. It'll be 15 minutes after a game, we can get the updated numbers right away. And how I wanted to ask about that, your rankings in comparison to the net, because everybody looks at the net and then looks at yours. And I know Sagarin and all these other BPI, KPI, whatever. But I know that yours is now included on the team sheets and part of what the tournament looks at. I guess the net is what decides the quadrant system, officially. But how would you compare your numbers if someone says, oh, well, they're 32nd in the net, but they're 40th at KenPom or vice versa? How do you look at that?
Yeah, I think it's important to not use one system. Let's put it that way. So, if you don't like where you see a team in my system, definitely look at the other ones. Like Sagarin is a guy, Sagarin's still the GOAT. Like, I feel like his rankings are outstanding. He just has a very plain website, and so he's not online. He doesn't have any social media presence, so he's not very popular anymore. But he's a great one to look at. The net also, it's pretty similar, I think, in the guts to my system. They don't necessarily reveal exactly what they do, but if you look at the ratings, they're pretty close. They seem to value maybe wins and losses more than I do. But there's obviously a number of systems out there. Kenneth Massey's site, by the way, a great starting point. He has his own set of ratings, but he also has a comprehensive list of all the ratings that are out there and kind of this big matrix. And so, you can kind of see an aggregate, what the top 10 or 20 systems are rating a team at, and get a feel for, is there agreement or is there disagreement? And, that can be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I know Bart Torvik has one as people like as well and does some things. But yeah, I keep coming back to yours and just the history. I love going back. I mean, I looked it up and going back. Unless I missed it somehow, I think the number 29 that Boise State was yesterday, the number 30 today, I think is the highest they've ever been in your ranking system. Is that correct?
I think so. I'd have to look it up myself. But, I just eyeballed the end of season rankings, and obviously, this is higher than anything they've had. And so, yeah, it's, pretty fun year for them. And, it should be a great showdown tonight for sure.
I was going to say, let's wrap it up with the game tonight, and maybe just before we get to just the game, maybe just Wyoming in general. Jeff Linder, everyone in Boise knows him, was a former Boise State assistant coach, loves him, goes to Northern Colorado, kills it there, goes to Wyoming. I know for your sake, you hope he sticks around for a while, but I don't know if he keeps having success there. But what just Wyoming in general, and they're in. I saw some stat, and I don't know if you have it on your rankings, but they go inside out more than any team in the country in terms of feeding the post and then working, back out from there. What's just your take on Wyoming in general and their team, where they're at, in the Jeff Linder era here?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a mirror image of Boise in that, Wyoming has a great offense. They're sixth in the country in 2-point percentage. Some of that is the post, but most of it's Hunter Maldonado. Like, he's, just great at getting to the rim and kind of really nifty once he gets there. So a solid offense, 28th in the country in terms of that. Draw a ton of fouls. That's mostly Graham Ike. And then defensively is kind of where they're weak. So, this is, we remember that, the last time we played, obviously just a few days ago. So, I think we saw that all on display. Like, Wyoming had a tough time scoring. Ike and Maldonado kind of got what they wanted, but the supporting cast didn't help out a lot. And, Boise offense wasn't great, but it was good enough to control, most of that game until the very end, where it obviously got interesting. But, the last game, I think, went just according to form if you looked at the stats. And it doesn't always work out that way, but, obviously wouldn't be surprised if that happened again.
Yeah, 65-62. Wyoming had the shot at the buzzer there, that missed. But Boise State had the big guy in foul trouble, so they were feeding Ike, and he was doing some damage there. Final question for you. I mean, your model says 55%, 45%, almost a coin flip, 1-point game here. But Wyoming at home, and if they have anything close to the atmosphere they had the other night against Colorado State, wow. And I'm looking forward to getting over there here shortly and seeing this game. But just that contrast, the offense versus the defense, how do you kind of, I would assume, and I would give the slight edge to the home team in the rematch here, but how do you look at just the styles and what the numbers kind of put together on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that score is pretty realistic. Like, it's just going to be another grinding game. I mean, pretty much every Boise game has been like that. So, kind of expect that. Yeah, should be a decent crowd. To be a better crowd, I think it was on a Saturday.
No snow today, though. No snow today. I think it's just
the weather
really cold.
is good. The weather is good, but you don't see a lot of people making long drives. So there's not a lot of humans in the Laramie area to support a Thursday night game. But the people that do show up will be enthusiastic, I'm sure. And it's going to be a lot of fun.
How is your spread, by the way, before I let you go? How is the Vegas spread always right on with your rankings? Do they just steal your number, or how does that always work out that way?
That's a good question, DJ. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works out that way, but I think whatever math they're using is very similar to whatever math I'm using.
Yeah, I think it's you made those odds makers' jobs very easy. They just look at your thing and say, okay, -2, -1 works for us.
Right.
Well, hey, appreciate your time, and hope folks that I talk about you multiple times a day, so it's an honor to get you on the show, and I hope that folks are on the fence, spend the $20. It's a great value, and it's just, like I said, you can just keep going through different tabs and find different stuff, and the luck factor was really a big deal in Boise a couple years ago. They were the unluckiest team in college basketball, I think 2 or 3 years ago, so we brought that up a lot. So a lot of great stuff on there, and continued success for you and Wyoming, other than tonight, I guess, for Boise State fans' sake, and hopefully we can catch up again soon. We appreciate it, Ken.
All right, sounds good, DJ. Thanks for having me on.
There he is, Ken Pomeroy of the great website, kenpom.com. And again, you can just go on there and get all the great analysis and thoughts on any team, whether you're a Boise State fan or a different team. And you can just go on there and get all of those thoughts and great stuff from Ken. Sorry, I had a couple comments, but didn't see him till it was too late and he was already off the show. So appreciate Ken Pomeroy for jumping on. Should be a lot of fun tonight. We got full coverage online. We got a preview story. We got interviews with Marcus Shaver, Tyson Degenhart, Leon Rice. Those are on the website as well, bronconationnews.com. I talked to Matt Bauscher this morning for the Matt Bauscher Show. You can go online and see that. And yes, I have a friend who will be flying Bronco Nation News over to the game tonight. So, yes, I'm living that private jet life. So I'll brag about that. Why not? So looking forward to heading soon to Laramie, and we'll be there courtside at the Arena Auditorium or wherever they put the media. I think it's up in the corner, actually, for this one tonight. And we'll have the full pregame show coming around 6:30 and the full postgame show right after the game, live interviews, highlights, analysis, all kinds of great stuff. Bronco Nation News, bronconationnews.com. So please go subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's the easiest way. If you just go to the YouTube channel and click and subscribe us. Then if you're watching on your smart TV, when you're watching the game afterwards or before, you can just go to YouTube, type in Bronco Nation News, and you can watch our post-game, pre-game shows live right there on your TV. And then you can still be scrolling Instagram or Twitter or whatever else you want to do. So you can get the YouTube app right there on your smart TV, and you can watch us that way. And again, full live pregame show about 6:30, 6:25 tonight, and then a full postgame show with live interviews afterwards as well. So really looking forward to getting over to Laramie. It should be an awesome game, awesome atmosphere, and we'll have full coverage, Bronco Nation News. If you're not a subscriber, hope you will consider. It's $6.99 a month, or you can just pay $70 for the full year. You get 2 months for free. If you pay up front for the $70, help support our travel costs and some of the other things we're working on with Bronco Nation News. So appreciate Ken Pomeroy. Appreciate you guys for checking this out and the support you've given us for Bronco Nation News the last 2 months. It's been great. Boise State lost the very first day of our site, and they haven't lost since. 14 in a row, and they'll try to make it 15 tonight in Laramie. Bronco Nation News will be on site in just a couple hours to give you full coverage. So thanks a lot. We'll talk to you from Laramie, Wyoming in a couple hours. Boise State and Wyoming, the game of the year so far in the Mountain West coming up, and we'll have full coverage. Bronco Nation News, bronconationnews.com.
Ready for the time of your life at Circa Resort and Casino, Las Vegas's newest destination for fun, featuring the world's biggest poolside tailgate party with 3 levels of action, 6 pools, and a 143-foot screen. The fun is always on deck with all the games all year long. Stadium Swim, located in downtown Las Vegas on Fremont Street. Book the time of your life today at Circa